So today's intention is to make a proposal for setting up that bridge between Amarkantak, Kalady, origin of Narmada and Jeevan, Vidya, and the creed of Sankaracharya. Well, so this is not a lecture. I hate lectures. This is a dialogue. So we will hold it as a dialogue. We will interact. The purpose of this dialogue is to make a proposal. Proposal for building a bridge between Kalady and Amarkantak. Why is that bridge required? What is going to be the nature of the bridge? We will come back to that a little later, but to set up the intention that is the bridge. And elaborate on it. I'll be talking mostly in English or Hindi. When I gained consciousness, when I became aware of the world, I found that I'm living in a place called Jyotirmay, which actually is Jyotirmay, established by Shankaracharya, barely 50 yards from that. And a lot of activities which are happening in Jyotirmay, including processions, visits of Shankaracharya's, classes, lot of rituals, lot of chanting, and little I was mesmerized by that. Gradually, I came to know that this place was established by someone called Shankaracharya, who came from here. And then I heard those stories that he found the Vishnu idol from Jeevan established in the Sree. And there were so many more mysteries around it. And I was actually in awe of this gentleman character. And then I came to know that he gave up his body in Kedarnath at the age of 32. I became all the more curious. I was wondering, why did he come here? I didn't know where he lies. But I knew that it was very distant. I came to know that in Badrinath and Kedarnath, the gods are worshipped by the priests from Kerala. So I was wondering, what gave this man the energy, the vision, the courage, and the character to travel all the way some 3,000 kilometers? I was a child. I moved out from Jyotirmay when I was 10. This time to experience the rural village life and culture in the Vedantic Goa. And the Jyotirmay thing went back in the mind. It was to come up again after a couple of years. But interregnum, let me talk a little about Kochi. So 2 years back I came to Kochi. In the departmental paradigm, Kochi is not considered a great posting. It is actually considered a punishment posting. So the day I landed here, there was a farewell for some outgoing officer. And I was also invited to speak a little because I was joined. And I started my speech by saying that I have been receiving condolence messages for past 1 week about my posting to Kochi. But the fact of the matter is that I have come out of choice by specifically asking for Kochi. And I gave a reason that I have come here to learn filmmaking from Malayalam cinema, because that is the best. Nobody believed it. I kept saying this over and over again to people, but nobody was ready to believe. In the end, finally, I had to show that email which I had sent to the board requesting for Kochi to the CIT administration that he believed. But I came to know that nobody is buying this. So I developed a new narrative. And the narrative was, when somebody asked me why I had come to Kochi, so I would say, I come from Devbhumi and I have come to God's own country. And I have come to know that 1200 years back, you sent a man from this God's own country to the Devbhumi. So I want to return with it. When I developed this narrative, I was not aware that Kalady exists. Or this is the Gangotri of Sanatana. Gradually I came to know about Kalady. And I realized that experience of Jyotirmata and this, right? Incidentally, in the Jyotirmata, there happens to be a Kalpavruksha. Kalpavruksha is something which grants your wishes. I don't know if I made any wishes as a child, but perhaps consciously or unconsciously, some wish I may have asked for at that time is getting fulfilled and resulting in this interaction with the Gangotri of Sanatana. I'll go back to the interregnum and we think according to the situations that we have seen, the time and space that we are aware of. I think I belong to a very, very special generation. Very special generation. And I so assert because the kind of change my generation has witnessed is rare for any other generation. To take an example, when I was a child, the food was cooked on chूल्हा. चूल्हे में लकड़ी डाल करके मेरी माँ बनाती थी, हम वहाँ बैठ करके खाते थे. चूल्हे से ग्रेजुएट हुए तो अंगीठी आई, जिसमें कोयला था. उसमें भी दो तरह की थी, एक कच्चे कोयले की अंगीठी, एक पक्के कोयले की अंगीठी. Anyway, the soft coke came, कच्चे कोयले की अंगीठी. Then sawdust was used for cooking food. Then came stove, which used kerosene. So there was a stove which put the oil and it will burn. Then came a stove, another revolution, it was gas wala stove, which had a burner. Then came the heater. Then came the microwave. And so on. So just one aspect of life, which is how the food is made, has undergone tremendous change in my last 59 years of life. To cite another example, when I was in a place called Varahat in Almora, there used to be a post office right across the road from my house. There, in the morning, the postman will depart. And when the postman who is departing will have a bag which will have letters and money orders and so on. And he will have a lathi with two things in it. One is gundu and the other is javelin. So he would go one day 7-8 kilometers from one side, deliver everything. And this lathi had two approaches. One was the bells will make people aware that the postman has come. And the javelin was to save him from the wild animals. And if somebody tries to snatch away his money. That was one end of communication. The other end of communication is that today morning I had a video call with my daughter Vidya. This much transformation. Which other generation has experienced? Till I was a child, I mentioned that I was in the bridge region, Nagari and Luthra region. Hardcore, on the ground, rural life experience. That life or that lifestyle was continuing in that fashion for thousands of years. Maybe the only thing that got added in last 50 years in the village was a radio, on which the whole village will listen to news and cricket. So this might change. Therefore, I feel that I really belong to a very, very special generation. On top of it, if I talk about me personally, within that generation I have been lucky. Extremely lucky. I have had the opportunity of studying in a municipal school where in the morning we would go and we would go work, bring a wooden piece from home on which Dalia will be cooked. We did not have 5 classes, we had only 3 teachers. So when I was in 5th class, I would teach the first class in 3 weeks. From there to world-class institutions like IIT, Delhi. I've had the opportunity of doing courses in Duke University, IIMs. I've had very nurturing, very caring parents, very convenient siblings. I have a lovely wife and 2 children. We are happily married. Although people argue that happily and married should be branded as antonyms in the dictionary. But anyway, I'm married and she's happy. So this word has given me a lot. I've had other opportunities also. As a teenager itself, I had the occasions to meditate in different streams of meditation, including Vipassana, including Kundalini. I had the opportunities of meditating in the Himalayan caves with masters. I am comfortable in a dhaba and a 5-star equal. I've visited about 8-10 countries, represented Government of India in several forums. I work in the budget division of Government of India and I made 4 budgets for this country. I represented the department in something like Authority for Advanced Rulings before the Federal Village. I contributed largely to the direct export in the Vedant Transactions Act. I've also had opportunities of studying various subjects. I did physics and maths till my 12th, and later engineering. When you do it for engineering, you learn economics also, and you learn operation research also, and so on and so forth. Then when it came to civil services, so why study physics, maths? Study something which is more useful in life. So I experimented with a lot of subjects called public administration, anthropology, sociology, political science, political affairs, and finally zeroed in on history and Hindi. History because it expands the mind and the horizon. And literature because it increases your sensitivity. And then when I came to in this service, so I had to learn the accounts, I had to learn law, I had to learn finance, and then I went on to making law. So much opportunities in civilization. I consider that I am one amongst the few thousand most privileged people in India, and maybe few lakhs in the world. Being that senior in the civilization and being that privileged, with that comes 2 things. One is gratitude, and the other is responsibility. Gratitude for different entities in the world, people as well as plants, as well as nature, to nurture me, give me so much. And responsibility to ensure that future generations find a livable world. And it is this responsibility within this responsibility that today's battle is happening. So as I is studying history for getting into civil services. There are 4 papers in history: ancient India, medieval India, modern India, and modern world. Ancient was the most intriguing. Incidentally and very interestingly, the ancient India finishes around 7th century, and the medieval India starts from the 11th century. The interregnum of 400 years is not studied. That includes the time of Shankaracharya. That 400 years is called dark age. Why is it dark? We'll come back in a minute. But it is not studied. But because I had the background from Jyotirmठ, I was interested in finding out what happened during this period. So if I transport myself back to the shoes of Shankaracharya in 796 AD, when he was 8-year-old, and he took renunciation. Actually, what happens is anybody who is a well-meaning person, as we rise from childhood, we see the world and develop a worldview based on what we are experiencing, what we are seeing, what we are hearing. So when I go back to the shoes of Shankaracharya, 8-year-old, I don't know if he wore shoes or he didn't. But what I notice sitting here in Kalady is, a nice place called next to the Vidya river. Some 40 kilometers distance again from the Vidya is Kodumbalu, where Kulashekar Varman is ruling. He is Vaishnavite. He is supportive of Hinduism. So I find a conducive atmosphere for my own growth. I noticed that some 140 kilometers northeast of Mangalore is a place called Sree. And in Sree, it's not conducive because the local rulers are Buddhists. Even in Kerala, around me, I noticed that Vaishnavism, Shaivism, they are fighting against each other. Then Buddhism and Jainism were equally prevalent. As I travel further up and reach Dwarka, I get to know about the Lord Krishna's place, from where he came to the Bible. And I find that Islam in the last 200 years has become militant. The Arabs from Sindh are attacking the local chieftains, and the state has become weak. There is a real danger in times to come, because people like Shankaracharya, visionaries, they can clearly foresee what happened. Long back, Jyotirmठ, I used to wonder, why did he choose this place? From where did he get resources to reach? The terrain is really ridiculous. And on foot he was walking all these distances. Anyway, going back to 8th century, because as an 8-year-old I have read Vedas and I have come to know about the existence of a place called Vedanta, which is there in Vedas, which is there in Puranas. I look further around and find that in Puri, there is a place which is holy place, and I find that this is near Bengal. Patna is controlled by Palas, and Buddhism is flourishing there. Nalanda and Vikrumshila is flourishing. I find that Palas, Kyaras, and Rajputas are fighting amongst each other. That is the language. In Palas, Kyaras, Rajputas, there are Cholas, Pallavas in south. I see a lot of disorder. And the questions arise to me based on that order, that disorder. That why it's such a disorder. And I find there are too many sects. Too many sects which are fighting each other. So I take upon unifying all this, because perhaps we could have seen the Somnath attack coming after 200 years. And he came on this brilliant philosophy of Advaita Vedanta. Jnana Deva Kaivalyam is written. The first thing you notice when you enter the he was following the Jnana Marg. But I see that even though he propounded the Jnana Marg, later the Bhakti movement focused on Bhakti, but it was all based on what Shankaracharya. And they were the streams which this Kalpotri offered to the civilization. I don't know. So this is about one aspect of the bridge, or one end of the bridge, which is Kalady. Let me come to the other end of the bridge, which is Amarkantak. In the course of ordinary posting, I got posted to Chhattisgarh in the year 2006. So I was head of the investigation in the state of Chhattisgarh. And in my jurisdiction, so in my jurisdiction, there was a place called Amarkantak, which happens to be the origin of Vedanta, as well as soul, more known for me. And incidentally, I had also had the charge of investigation in the Jabalpur region. So I had to do the both places. There I came to know there is someone called Baba Nagaraj in Amarkantak. And as my curiosity from childhood was, I went and met him. And I came to know a little about his work and no authority on it. But so I came to know that Baba, he came from, he was born in Hassan district in Karnataka. And he comes from a family in which the future Shankaracharya are taught Vedas. So he's read Katra of Ved at Shankaracharya. And he had some questions. So he went to his Guru for asking answers. Guru said, you get married and go to Banaras and live there with your wife for 1 year. So he promptly got married and went to Banaras. His worldview developed while he was in Banaras. Banaras at that time was the Banaras University set up by was still taking shape. A lot of educational, plus Banaras the city of Lord Shiva has this peculiarities in terms of streets and Nandi and so on and so forth. And people. So many people, so many. And he developed his own world. We'll come to that worldview again. Continue with Baba Nagaraj. After that, he again went to his Guru and said, what to do? He said, now, शास्त्रों में कहा है कि नर्मदा तीरे तपस को व्याप्त है, लेकिन Shankaracharya also went for doing tapa in Nirmala. So you go to Amarkantak and do sadhana. So for 20 years, he did sadhana for 12 hours a day. And he says nothing. He again went to Guru. And Guru said, now you do a process called Sanyam. So, for 3 months he did Sanyam. And then he says that he saw a still existence as we see things on TV. That can be a hallucination. But based on that, whatever, he developed a philosophy with 4 books on darshan, 3 Dwara and 3 Shastra, along with a Manav Samvidhan and a book on definition. He called it Jeevan Vidya. And we'll come back to this a little later. So, from Jabalpur and Raipur, it was very convenient for me to stay the night with Baba and ask my questions. So I could always prepare a list of questions to ask Baba Nagaraj. And I'd go down to him, eat with him, live with him. We'll discuss till 2:30, 3, 4 in the night. In the morning, I wake up. I'll argue. Morning when I wake up, he like, इसकी कुछ नरक हुआ? बहुत सही देखा. I have not done 3, 4 in the night. Morning when I wake up, he like, इसकी कुछ नरक हुआ? I have not done any formal course in Vidya. I can show you a paper. Not for a discussion, but just to have a look at canvas on which Baba is thought. Because Baba's worldview was very, very different than what Shankaracharya's worldview was. At the time of Baba, the population was how did it? At the time of Shankaracharya, the population was 5 times population growth in the perspective of the two million. There was no scarcity of resources in Shankaracharya. There was acute shortage of every resource in Baba Nagaraj worldview for anyone. There was limited, very, very limited technology at the time of Shankaracharya. But Banaras in 1940s, there was this entire Institute of Technology, Banaras in the University of Technology had reached that. There was limited circulation and availability of money at the time of Shankaracharya. Whereas in Baba's worldview, by this time everybody is changing money. So both of them came from the background of Vedanta. But because of the context of different times, their thoughts developed differently. There was no need to bother about global warming or pollution or polluting more at the time of Shankaracharya. There was no such requirement. Whereas in Baba's time, these were all real issues, the survival of the human race. So Baba came up, and his solution incorporates key answers to these questions. Whereas when Shankaracharya came for unification of Hinduism, for dealing with the smaller groups and future threats, his solution was perfect, and it worked for many things. That brings us to the priest Kalady. We talked about Amarkantak. Now let's talk about the rich. Before that, I just show this one sheet, which is just for appreciating canvas on which we'll not go into it because each word deserves a couple of paragraphs. So, it is essentially a मध्यस्थ दर्शन. बाबा का सोच ये था कि वेद पर उनको क्वेश्चन हुआ है, अद्वैत पर जो क्वेश्चन हुआ ये था, ब्रह्म सत्य है, जगत मिथ्या है. सत्य चीज से मिथ्या चीज कैसे पैदा हो? Started with his inquiry, of course, it spread to a lot of them. Second thing he noticed was that, particularly living in Banaras, that human beings have had only two options to live: either Adhyatma or material. So when one will get bored from one will jump to the other. One get bored from here, jump to the other. It's a process. The human being got this. So this philosophy is Manav Kendra Chinta. Human beings is the center of the entire thing. The both darshan, Vaad, Shastra actually pertain. Talking about the bridge, when Shankaracharya founded his philosophy, the simplest thing was to come back from Vedas. Vedas were written about another 1,000 years before Shankaracharya. So more or less the conditions remained the same. They did not alter as drastically as between Shankaracharya and Baba Nagaraj. So coming back to the bridge, the time of Vedas, which were or the Shankaracharya's teachings based on Vedas, the time had not moved much. Civilization had not moved much. Therefore, what Shankaracharya came up is sufficient, sufficed. Later works movement, even up to there and Saraswati, the Vedas were. But perhaps now is the time that the situation has drastically altered and a new look at the Vedanta philosophy is perhaps warranted. Among the systems globe over that I have come across for peace, harmony, universalization, I find the system which is propounded by Baba Nagaraj is closest to Shankaracharya's work. Both of them have a lot of similarity. So, the conclusion that I want to make for making a bridge is that this is the Gangotri of Amarkantak. There is the Gangotri of Vidya at Amarkantak. Both have followers, both have people who are scholars. So maybe we can make a beginning by inviting some of them here and getting to know each other better. Maybe some of the research scholars can include study of Vidya in their pursuit. In few times, maybe here we will require a department of Vidya also. So today's intention is to make a proposal for setting up that bridge between Amarkantak, Kalady, origin of Narmada and Jeevan and the Gangotri of Sanskrit. I rest and we can now open the discussion. Sir.
It's not out. It's like a discussion or some.
No. It has 4 books in Darshan, 3 Shastras, and 3 Vaad. Along with a Samvidhan, Manav Samvidhan. For it includes the entire globe in its solutions.
For the first time, I had about this, and I try to study.
I'll any other question thoughts coming? Whatever coming. I leave this one document to you. You can share it with family members. Yes.
Especially the similarity of the social
Little bit. Commonalities between Baba Nagaraj and Shankaracharya. Both are Indian. Both were Brahmins. Both studied Vedas from the childhood. Both did tapasya on the bank of Narmada. Both say that the purpose of life is knowing Brahman or knowing existence. Both look at the entire existence from the same perspective. Baba wrote in Hindi, Shankaracharya wrote in Sanskrit. But then when I go through I'm not a scholar, so I don't get into the Jeevan. But there are minor differences, more of similarity, and I actually see this as a development of the same parampara. Now that time has changed, context has changed. So I would like to build this pitch not from a point of view of Siddhant, but from a point of view of intention. From the point of view of intention, there are enormous similarities, both contexts. Does that make sense?
Yes. So, in Pakistan, centuries.
12 centuries.
The Muslim century demands more human focused teachings. That is why Baba Nagaraj highlighted the humanitarian concepts in this philosophy.
And it's not only 1200 years, it's actually because Shankaracharya's whole work was based on Vedas, which happened another 1000 years. So we are actually looking at the differences at a time period span of about 2005. So what do you think? Today's intention is only limited that we have a few key people from there. We have a WhatsApp group in which some people from there, some people from here, we join together, then we can interact through that and take it up further. That's it.
Tradition continues with exact text and tradition. The continuity of that tradition is always dependent on the teacher and his contributions. Exact text and tradition. In that context also, Baba Nagaraj contributed much.
Yes.
So, right for
very interesting. Why the conversation? What is the reasons? One is, it is between Adhyatma on one end. Adhyatma, which is Ishwar Chintan, on one hand, and Vastu Kendric Chintan, that is materialism or science, on the other. Between these two, focusing on human beings, that is why it's called. In short, it is called Jeevan Vidya. There are more bright people who that stage will come.
but it really passes from Shankara.
Yes. There are
Most of the Vaishnava and Saiva lessons.
Well, I'll not go into philosophy. I decided when I was taking civil services that I'm not opting for philosophy. The idea is that a dialogue starts. These minor differences can be handled together. Yes, there are deviations. Yes.
What may the expression or
See, there is something called thesis, antithesis, and then synthesis, which is the scientific method. So, what I am right now looking for is few people from whoever. Actually, I can speak my number. So, please send me a WhatsApp with your name. I'll add you to that WhatsApp group. And there are people from Jeevan Vidya who are also in that group. So, we'll start a dialogue from this and then do the planning. Then we'll see how it comes and what questions arise from each other. This today's session is only with direct. I will be retiring 5 months from now, and then I will have more opportunities for devoting to this knowledge. Because official work is. I'm here for 2 years. My intention of coming to Kalady has been like 2 years. But somehow the work pressure and things like that did not.
So you are in the Roman tradition.
Oh yes.
So actually you know what the problems are mentioned. So that there are some solutions if you feel that there is some solution Baba Nagaraj mission. Is there anything which makes you anything which convinces you that this can work this way?
Very good.
Because you are actually looking more than interacting more people than interacting with the policy makers and other people. So then more required, you have more first-hand experience in that. We are just the literature of just taking the literature.
Well, very good. That is the first doubt. Can Baba Nagaraj's work be effective in?
No, I'm not talking about the effectiveness of it.
Okay.
Can be implemented or can be tried or destroyed?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. Baba, after he propounded, he took his work to IIT Delhi professors. And the IIT Delhi professors, Baba used to say that bring to me any question of any of the 700 crore people I will answer. So a lot of questioning happened. IIT Delhi professors, the whole group, questioned him like anything. And then they got this. And it is implemented. There are centers in Raipur, Chuki, there are centers in Indore, there are centers in Ahmedabad, there are centers in Garhwal. Quite a few. A lot of people are working. Baba का the biggest contribution is कि अस्तित्व को समझना लाइफ का उद्देश्य और अस्तित्व की समझ जो है वो पठन पाठन अध्ययन अध्यापन विधि से संभव है. So there are many courses of up to 2 years duration which people are doing and which people are implementing in their lives.
And many government schools are also implementing the
Yes. The happiness curriculum, which is now implemented in Delhi schools, is based on Jeevan. Manish Shodhya is a Jeevan Vidya practitioner, and he was the one who all engineering colleges. The value education is based on Jeevan. Similarly, is not there. Whenever you feel like being a part of this joint exercise, just do it. Any other question, comment? We are all responsible for making a world in which our future generations find an opportunity to express themselves.
So we have here an international school courses in Sree studies.
International school
International school courses in Sree studies.
Okay.
Given by Professor Sree and hospital.
Where is that? In Kalady.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe you could share the research questions. Yes, so I can invite someone from Jeevan Vidya for having a talk. And then share you will know. So we will connect WhatsApp.
And some of the scholars, research scholars will disappear this and in near future.
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. So thank you everyone very much. My intention of this is got fulfilled. Thank you.
My thanks to sir. We have to University Secondary University. Thank you.
Very good.